people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this per tweet from International Boxing News. Opportunity knocks. Eddie Hearn has revealed that Sandy Ryan has a quote-unquote massive opportunity in her next fight, and it is not Chantel Cameron. Sandy Ryan will return on April 1st or April 22nd, but against who?
Not Chantel. That's what Eddie specified.
So who will she be fighting, and where will she be fighting them? Will she be fighting at 140 pounds? Will she move up in weight up to 147?
At 147 pounds, the woman to beat is Jessica McCaskill.
But Jessica's spoken for. Jessica's currently under orders by more than one alphabet organization to satisfy her mandatory challenger in Ivana Habazin. And very recently, Ivana's team, they won the purse bid. They won the rights to that fight.
The date and location have yet to be announced, but that's what we know. Ivana's team placed the winning bid for that fight.
So if Sandy's fighting somebody up there, it won't be one of them. Maybe she'll be contesting for the newly vacated IBF title opposite the ring, I don't know, former WBC junior middleweight champion Eva Pietskowska, who ranks it at number 3, behind Jessica and behind Ivana.
Maybe.
Eva Pietskowska, the former WBC junior middleweight champion, she was actually supposed to face Natasha Jonas in the first quarter of last year in February on the undercard of Amir Khan versus Kell Brook, their grudge match, but for whatever reason, she withdrew. Natasha ended up fighting somebody else instead.
Eva's ranked in at number 3, right behind Jessica McCaskill and Ivana Habazin.
So maybe Sandy Ryan ends up opposite the ring Eva. Eva, who didn't see any action all of last year. She hasn't been that productive the last couple of years. She was last in action in 2021, and she only fought once that entire year. Didn't fight at all last year.
That favors Sandy if they make that fight.
Ranked right behind Eva is unbeaten up-and-comer from Turkey, Dilara Yücel.
Talked about Dilara at least once here on the channel. Dilara's not ready for that fight.
Sporting a professional record of 11 wins, no losses, no draws with 9 knockouts, having seen action two times last year. Even though she's been more active than, say, Eva Pietskowska, she's not as seasoned a fighter. And those 11 wins, those 11 victories she's got, those are over largely pedestrian-level opponents.
Hard to imagine that Dilara Yücel's handlers would put her in a fight like that. They have to know she's not ready for somebody like Sandy.
But assuming that this massive opportunity Eddie's talking about is a title shot at the newly vacated IBF title up there at welterweight, we have to assume that the IBF is going to move down their ranks. Maybe she ends up opposite the ring Hungary's own Kinga Mayar.
Maybe.
Ranks in at number 5. Ranked in at number 6 is the United Kingdom's own Kirsty Bavington. She already fought Sandy Ryan and lost to Sandy Ryan. She's got a fight coming up in a few weeks. I don't think Sandy's going to end up opposite the ring Kirsty Bavington. Alma Ibarra, who ranks in at number 7, she retired after the Jessica McCaskill fight last year.
America's own unbeaten up-and-comer Summer Lynn, she ranks in at number 8. Haven't heard a whole lot of news in reference to Summer Lynn.
But she's there. Ranked in at number 9 is Canada's own Marie-Pierre Huel. Now, she's seen action within the last 12 months, and she's been busy, looking good.
Doing the business.
When you use words like massive opportunity, you get the sense that this is something that perhaps wasn't on schedule initially, but some recent turn of events may have opened a door. And very recently, news broke that the IBF title at welterweight, it has gone vacant.
So maybe what Eddie Hearn's talking about here is finagling a situation where Sandy Ryan gets to fight for that title. Sandy Ryan, who sports a professional record of 5 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 2 knockouts.
She's a knockout.
Sandy, who successfully rebounded off her first professional loss to Erica Farias. She rebounded off that loss early last year.
I think she learned a valuable lesson in that first fight, gained valuable experience that you can't plow through all of these girls. You can't just bum rush them.
They're not all going to go down off the first hard shot that lands.
In a second fight that took place in August of last year, Sandy Ryan won a dominant points decision win by showing she's more than just a sizable puncher. She's a boxer as well. She can stick and move and
Stay on the outside, manage the distance.
she avenged the loss to Erica Farias, the loss she suffered earlier that year, and she went straight into a fight with former WBA champion Ana E. Esther Sanchez in November, capped off the year with yet another unanimous decision win.
She's supposed to be on the eve of some massive opportunity in April.
And I just get the sense that it may involve a move upstairs and it may involve an alphabet title of some kind. I'm going to assume that title is the IBF title because I reiterate, news recently broke that it's gone vacant. So maybe while Jessica's taking care of Ivana Habazin, Sandy can fight for the blue belt, the IBF title, and see if she can't settle up with the winner of McCaskill versus Habazin.
I think Jessica's gonna win that fight.
I'm just bouncing ideas around, but that's kind of the look of it.
More or less, I get the sense Sandy may be fighting for an alphabet title very soon. And for a fighter with only 6 professional fights, that really is a massive opportunity.
In any event, we'll find out what's what soon enough. Keep your eyes peeled for the ring return of Sandy Ryan in April. In men's 136-pound news, Gervonta Davis took to his social media and announced that the fight with Ryan Garcia will be going down April 22nd instead of April 15th in Las Vegas. Hashtag Davis Garcia. Let's go.
Let's do it.
If this is what passes for an official announcement for what is supposed to be a super fight, a mega fight, a fight of epic proportions, I mean, if this is how they officially announce it,
I don't know if by the time this video is uploaded, a more gregarious announcement will be made by the powers that be, the people at Showtime, the people at DAZN.
time of reflection, that on the eve of what could be Gervonta Davis's biggest fight, the biggest fight of his career, he's not with Mayweather Promotions. He's not with Leonard Ellerbe, who up until recently
He was his mouthpiece. He was his biggest fan.
biggest supporter because he was his promoter. And it seems an odd twist of fate that they would have promoted Gervonta Davis up until this point, and on the eve of what is the biggest fight of his career, they're really not invited to the party. Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellerbe.
They didn't promote his last fight, the fight with Hector Luis Garcia. The registered promoter for that fight was Tom Brown of Tom Brown Promotions, TGB.
Not TMT, and there's no reason to believe that they're going to be involved with this fight either. I'm going to assume that the registered promoter for this fight, at least on the PBC side of things, is going to be Tom Brown again.
Ever since that news broke that Gervonta Davis wasn't going to be with Mayweather Promotions anymore, you've heard less and less from Leonard Ellerbe, who really seems to have had only one job, just one job, and that was promoting Gervonta Davis's fights.
Floyd Mayweather himself, the guy whose name is on the banner, well, he can't be bothered to micromanage these guys. He's got his own fight, his own exhibition match this weekend opposite the ring, some guy named Chalmers from Geordie Shore.
What the hell is that?
Over there across the pond on the Zeus network.
What the hell is that?
He can't be bothered to micromanage these guys. I mean, if Mayweather Promotions has other fighters in their stable, none among them seem to have the same profile and the same ceiling as a Gervonta Davis. So if Leonard Ellerbe is still in the business of promoting fights, he must be doing it on a much smaller scale than previous instances.
He must be, because you barely see the guy anymore.
And this is the putz that wanted to crack wise to Eddie Hearn, a promoter who's doing shows in America, shows in the United Kingdom, shows in Australia, shows in Saudi, shows in Abu Dhabi. I mean, this is the guy who really wanted to shoot off at the mouth to Eddie Hearn.
The putz.
The schmuck who wanted to crack wise to Eddie Hearn when he really only had one fighter to promote. Just one fighter, one really.
And now look, you're not even promoting his biggest fight.
All that hard work over all those long years for nothing, just so that his biggest fight could end up being promoted by somebody else.
Set to go down April 22nd.
Initially, it was tabbed to go down a week earlier on the 15th. It appears they've elected to move the fight date for the fight on the premise that had they held on to that 15th date, well, they'd only have about, 7 weeks to promote the show? 7 weeks?
April ain't that far away, you know. It's right around the corner.
And ideally, you want at least 8 weeks to promote a show. 8 weeks to sell the fight and ramp up promotion.
April ain't that far away, you know. It's right around the corner.
So they look to have pushed the fight date out 1 week. Gervonta Davis is supposed to be sentenced the following month in May for his run-ins with the law, so this still buys him time to have this fight with Ryan Garcia, win or lose, and face the music the following month in May.
Whatever happens.
Not really the kind of thing you want hanging over your head going into the biggest fight of your career.
No, not really.
Upcoming court date with potential jail time. It is less than ideal, but it's really never a good time. It's never an ideal time to have to go to court.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis's best chance against Ryan Garcia is to catch him between the shots, catch him between the punches with a counter shot, a counter punch of his own, as Gervonta Davis is a counter puncher of some substance.
Some ability.
You gotta capitalize off Ryan Garcia's mistakes, and if Ryan doesn't make any, then Gervonta has to force him to. He's got to close the distance and close the gap to get close to Ryan, because Ryan's a lot taller and a lot longer than he is.
You don't want to be on the outside of that guy. You're a sitting duck on the outside.
You want to be within arm's reach of this guy. Your arm's reach and not his, because his arm's longer than yours.
Close enough to counter his straight punches with looping shots over the top. Gervonta Davis, he's a southpaw.
Whereas Ryan Garcia is an orthodox fighter, and where Gervonta Davis's best weapon in this fight is his counterpunching, Ryan Garcia's best weapon in this fight is his height, his length, and his speed. If he can keep Gervonta Davis at arm's length, managing the distance and pumping out that jab, keeping it in front of him,
He's got a shot.
You often hear it said that the straight right hand for a southpaw, well, that's the southpaw killer, and I do think that Ryan's got a decent straight right hand, though, because Gervonta Davis is so much smaller than Ryan Garcia. I'd say a left hook.
For this assignment, that'd be the better way to go.
Set him up because you know he's a smaller, stumpier fighter than you are, and he's got to close the distance before he can do anything. When he does, when he tries to, set him up for a left hook, a short one.
Like the one he hit Francisco Fonseca with years ago.
You frustrate him by managing that distance, taking a half step back whenever he tries to inch forward, keeping that jab out there,
Keeping it in his face and his vision obscured.
keeping the line of sight not quite clear for the smaller, stumpier fighter who's got to close the gap before he can even land any punches. Maybe you get this guy to make some mistakes, lean over his lead foot, catch him lunging in, get off that big left hook. Maybe you put this guy down.
Maybe you put him out.
It's true that Gervonta Davis is fast. To some degree he is. It's true that he's fast, and it's true that he's strong, but Ryan's fast too.
And he's strong too, but he's taller, longer, rangier.
Behooves Ryan Garcia to use his height and his reach. Don't give up your height to the naturally smaller fighter. You're just making it easier for him to hit you.
It's a good fight.
Even if it's not a fight of much consequence, and I say that because, you know, this fight, it's going to be fought at 136 pounds. It's not really a lightweight contest.
Not for a title. Not even Gervonta Davis's WBA baby belt.
It's not a segue to the winner of Haney versus Lomachenko.
It isn't.
It's not a segue to any alphabet title, really. It's not a segue to any title fight, whether Ryan wins or Gervonta wins.
It isn't.
Though it is an intriguing little fight. Oftentimes a fight where they're overstating the fight's value, the size and scale of the fight. I mean, I do think it'll do decent numbers at the gate and decent numbers at the box office, but this ain't Maypac and this ain't Maymac.
I don't know that this fight's gonna bring in 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Might not, but provided that the fight actually happens, it is a fight that I will purchase the day of. It is an intriguing enough matchup that I want to see how it ends. I do.
With this, it's official. April 22nd. Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia are gonna settle their differences in the ring.
April's going to be a busy month. The ring return of Sandy Ryan against an opponent that has yet to be announced. You've got Joshua versus Franklin on the 1st, Joyce versus Zhang on the 15th.
Garcia versus Davis, which we just talked about, on the 22nd.
And that same day, in Poland, Lucas Rozanski versus Alen Babic in Reskro for the vacant WBC Bridgerweight title. An announcement that caught me by surprise.
The fight went to a purse bid, and Matchroom didn't place the winning bid. Lucas Rozanski's promoter, Knockout Promotions, they placed the winning bid. They have the rights to the fight. Headed by Andrzej Wasilewski, announced today that the fight for the vacant WBC Bridgerweight Championship between Lucas Rozanski and Croatian Alen Babic will go ahead on April 22nd in Rezzo. Rozanski, who previously campaigned as a heavyweight and never fought as a Bridgerweight, has been waiting for a long time for his chance, as he was first set to fight the then champion Oscar Rivas in Colombia, a showdown that was postponed several times and eventually called off. His last fight dates back to May 30th of 2021 when he beat Artur Spilka in a first-round stoppage. As for the Savage Babic, he's been active since his pro debut in 2019
and is hugely popular with fight fans.
He's particularly popular in the United Kingdom.
It's the funniest thing with Alen the Savage Babic. I can remember way back when, to 2019, when he made it his mission to target his countryman, amateur standout Filip Hrgovic, a medalist in the Olympics. And even though it's Filip that has the decorated amateur background and the medal to boot, Alen Babic is still a lot more popular than he is.
Yeah, Alen is the popular one, not Filip.
Although the same thing that makes Alen Babic such a popular guy is the same thing that's almost gotten him knocked out, almost gotten him stopped, at minimum rattled on more than one occasion.
He's a brawler. He's not a boxer. Alen Babic is in the ring. It ain't for a boxing match, believe you me.
It's what makes him so popular. He has developed a bit of a cult following as a result of fighting under the Matchroom banner, and that's what makes all of this so curious, that Matchroom didn't place the winning bid for the fight. It was KO Boxing Promotions that placed the winning bid of just $425,000, just a little above $400,000 for this Bridgerweight title fight.
They beat up Matchroom. That surprised me.
Is Matchroom not committed to Alen the Savage Babic? Not as committed as we thought they were, because they basically got beat out by a local promotional outfit in Poland. Is the fight worth more to KO Boxing Promotions than it is to Matchroom? Apparently it is.
I just hope the zone picks up the U.S. rights to the fight so that we can see it here in America.
Should be able to work that out, because the U.S. rights to the fight in Poland, I don't think they're going to go for all that much money. I don't think they're going to be all that expensive.
Not for Matchroom to pick up the U.S. rights and the U.K. rights.
Lukas Rozanski will have home field advantage. He is the home fighter, the house fighter, who hasn't seen action since May 30th of 2021. The night of, it will be approximately 2 years, or just a month shy of 2 years, since that guy had a fight, whereas Alen did fight last year.
He fought Adam Balski in May. The night of, it will have been approximately 11 months since Alen Babic saw action, and being all caught up with this situation is more or less why he wasn't more active last year.
So initially, it wasn't going to be for the Bridgerweight title. Not initially. It was supposed to be a segue to it. Initially, Oscar Rivas was the WBC Bridgerweight champion, but one thing led to another, and the title went vacant. Now it's up for grabs.
It will be in April.
In Poland. This really is Alen Babic's best bet to see himself crowned a champion of any kind, even if it is just a Bridgerweight champion. You know, those kids at cruiserweight, they're formidable. The guys at heavyweight, they're even worse.
Oh yeah, it's even worse up there. The talent pool is deeper.
When you think about who the belt holders are, you've got Lawrence Okolie holding the WBO, Lunga Makabu holding the WBC, Arsen Goulamarian holding the WBA, and Jay Opataya holding the IBF. That's a cruiserweight. At heavyweight, you've got Alexander Usyk holding...
Alen don't beat none of those guys.
Usyk's got 3 to 4 titles at heavyweight, and Fury's got the other.
Alen don't beat none of those guys.
They're tied up with each other. Not that it matters, because if Alen ever did get the chance to fight those guys, he don't beat those guys. He don't beat the guys at cruiser, he don't beat those guys at heavy.
This is his best bet to win a title, but there is a caveat. He's got to go into hostile territory in order to do it.
Silver lining is he'll be opposite the ring a man who hasn't fought in close to 2 years.
This guy's gonna have a lot of ring rust to shake off.
You know, Alen gets off to a fast start. We'll see what happens.